Module 3 consists of readings on biomechanics and performance exercises, YouTube videos and external URLs, with articles from ESPN and a TV commercial with Patrick Willis, who's a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, showing his athletic movement in contrast with the character movement of the actor in the scene. One of the most important articles about reaction time, excerpted from a book titled The Sports Gene. Studies that track the eye movements of experienced performers, whether chess players, pianists, surgeons, or athletes, have found that as they gain experience, they are quicker to sift through visual information and separate the wheat from the chaff. Experts swiftly discard irrelevant input and cut to the data that are most important in determining their next move. While novices dwell on individual pieces or players, experts focus more attention on spaces between pieces or players that are relevant to the unifying relationship of parts in the whole. Most important in sports, perceiving order allows elite athletes to extract critical information from the arrangement of players or from subtle changes in an opponent's body movements in order to make unconscious predictions about what will happen next. In a famous paper, The Role of Deliberate Practice in the Acquisition of Expert Performance, psychologists found that expert pianists had, on the average, accumulated a similar number of practice hours as the top violinists, as if there were a universal rule of expertise. The researchers used these weekly practice estimates to suggest that expert musicians, regardless of the instrument, have had 10,000 hours of practice by age 20. And that skilled performers have engaged in greater quantities of deliberate practice, the kind of effortful exercises that strain the capacity of the trainee or the novice. Later, they extended their conclusions to sports, citing tests showing that learned perceptual expertise is more important than raw reaction skills. Accumulated hours of practice, they suggested, were masquerading as innate talent in both sports and music. These concepts are also considered in the article Phenomenology of Sport, which uses the example of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to consider habituated action in the skill set of experts as compared with the clumsiness of the novice. Module 4 focuses on the spectator, and there's two short articles from performance theory that debate whether the audience member empathizes with the performer or athlete, or is there to analyze and critique. Difference between empathy and critical awareness. We can argue both sides of this question. Certainly a spectator feels something, but usually feels more empathy for their own team than the opponent's, even when someone is injured in the game. Think of MMA fighting, where they are cheering while some poor soul is beaten into submission. Later, the spectators will critique specific moments in the contest and review what happened to affect the outcome. Bertolt Brecht, the German playwright and theorist, applied this idea to theater in his short essay, Emphasis on Sport. Boxing was his favorite in the 1920s and 30s, the golden age for that sport, and now boxing is almost a footnote in the sports pantheon. I hope you enjoy this section.